Hey, welcome to Circle Back to Sunday at Victory Hill. Each week, we're diving deep into the heart of the Sunday morning sermon. Together, we'll unpack the wisdom, share insights, and explore how these messages resonate in our daily lives. We're bringing in voices from all around our community. You'll hear from the incredible teaching team, as well as the amazing individuals who make up our awesome church family. It's not just a podcast, it's a conversation. So whether you are a longtime member or just tuning in for the first time, we invite you to join us as we circle back to Sunday. I'm Emily Pettigo, and I'm joined by two new guests this week.
Yeah.
I have Miss Katie O'Callahan. Sorry, Gabe, we introduced ladies first. And I have Mr. Gabe Graves here with us, and we are going to circle back to the Sunday sermon that is One Life to Love.
Love it.
Yes, Pastor Chad brought the message, which I thought was amazing. This whole love handles series. I think that he led today, and he said, not these love handles.
Yeah.
And I think that he should have led with that before Trey had to take on
Yeah.
the first one.
I think so too.
Poor Trey.
Yeah.
So Chad clarified, it's not your physical love handles, it's what love can handle.
Yes.
That's right.
But it was a great message today. So
It was.
for you all, was there anything in particular that like rang out majorly?
Yeah, I think for me, it was to love one another like constantly, right? And letting go of grudges, and God loved us and we should love like that.
Yeah.
And for many, many years, I was a grudge holder. And even after being saved and stuff, that's definitely something I've really, really had to work on. Even in like the last few years, I'll even admit.
Yeah.
And so that really rang home for me today. And I've been better, but I have to pray. I probably pray daily for that of, God, help me love others the way that you love, and let people see that love shine through me. And Lord, just like, let me not hold a grudge.
Yeah.
And, I think he made a good point of, you don't have to let people walk all over you.
You're not a doormat.
Yeah, we're not a doormat, but we just don't need to let that sourness and bitterness into our hearts. And so, praying about it, let that go, love them anyways, and then move on,
Yep.
So
It's
that
not
was
easy.
really,
It's really not. I
No.
mean, I've struggled with that throughout my life because I take things extremely personal. Everything, even when it's not meant for me, sometimes I take it personal.
Yeah.
So I can agree with that too. Gabe, what about you?
Well, I was thinking the same thing that Katie did.
Okay, so we all have a similar issue we pray through constantly.
Yeah, well, I think that first point that Pastor Chad made about constant love requires consistent maintenance.
Yes.
I always, with love, obviously you go back to your marriage, your spouse. And I think a lot of the time in marriage especially, that it can easily be you do this for me, I'll do this for you, or you
Right.
don't do this, then I'm not doing that. You
Yeah.
know, and I think that it's easy in marriage, especially over time, that you get in a rhythm and you forget to put maintenance into your marriage. And so it's a
Yeah.
constant, like, what more can I do for you? Not what can I get or what can you do for me, but how can I serve you today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's
good.
that consistent love, consistently every day. How can I serve you better today?
Yeah.
What can I do for you? And then you let that bleed into your relationship with your kids or your relationship with your
Yeah.
parents,
Yep.
your friends. It's like, what can I do to be a better friend today? What can I do?
Absolutely.
And I think it gets dangerous when we say, what can I get out of this? But instead,
Right.
what can I do? How can I pour into this?
I think that's definitely like a mindset shift is instead of what can I get, for believers, because this message was kind of more tailored for
Yeah.
those of us who are believers, because a lot of hurt comes from Christians.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the church and Christians have historically
Yeah.
been notorious for being the worst people.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things that you have to look at yourself and just be like, instead of what can I get, what can they get from me that shows them God?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want them to see God through me. But I love when you were talking about, that you get in that rhythm. Like, our relationships do not have that flashing, your oil needs to be changed,
right.
or engine trouble, like
Yeah.
he referenced the cars.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have that.
Yeah.
It's more of like a subtle, like, maybe your wife was like, hey, could you help more? Or,
Yeah.
your husband's like, hey, I come home and I'm exhausted and you asked me to do 10 things,
Yeah.
or your child's like, why could you just not yell at me? And I think those are situations that I'm speaking, from experience,
Yeah.
that instead of getting offended that I'm the, what? Like,
Yeah.
be able to look at yourself and be like, oh, ooh, I am not loving you well. And it's hard. It's hard to look at yourself
Yeah.
and be like, oh, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem.
Yeah.
To reference Taylor Swift. It's me.
Not Taylor on
No.
the Super Bowl.
I'm sorry.
Sunday.
It's a fact on Super Bowl.
Taylor is good, man. I hate to say it. Like, I'm not a Swiftie. I'm impressed with her.
Gabriel.
He's a closet
Is it
Swiftie, don't let him lie.
artistry or whatever? She's sick at like composing
Well, she's-
all the
yeah,
songwriting.
yeah.
Girl's
I've already
got
made
it.
this comment on one podcast. I guess I'll say it on another. I think
Two for
she's
two.
very talented,
Uh-huh.
but she's overrated.
I would agree with this last statement. But I love the butt come very slowly.
I love her though.
We're
I
here
do
for
love
honest.
her.
We see you're listening to the message. We love her. We love her.
And we love Swifties through
Yes.
it.
Right.
Oh
Love you
yeah.
through
Right.
it.
That
Oh,
they
yeah.
chose that lifestyle.
Hey,
But
some dedication right there and constant love.
Yeah.
if only more people were as dedicated to a relationship with Christ, it would be a little bit better. I think the hardest part for like Katie said, you still struggle, and I find myself in that moment too, and I have to check myself and like be like, Lord, help me through this moment right here, and do
Yeah.
not let me say
Yeah.
something I shouldn't, because once you say something, you can't take it back.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I wrote down when I can't talk today, sorry guys. When Chad said, it's the people closest to you that can hurt you the deepest.
Yes.
Yeah, I wrote that.
And that's the truth. I mean, it really
Absolutely.
is. It's going to be like your spouse, your kid, your sibling, you know, even grandparents, parents. It can be those people or your best friend.
Yeah.
Those cuts hurt so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in those moments, it's so hard to show the love of Christ when, you know, you're just frustrated and you're hurt, but at the same time, maybe disappointed. You have all these other feelings. It's the truth. It's so hard. And it's
Yeah.
hard to check yourself in those moments. And I think that's why the maintenance and the continual, like he said, it's constant. You have
Yeah.
to be consistent. It's retraining your brain as well.
Well,
Yeah.
when he said that, I wrote the same thing down.
Yeah.
The people closest to you can hurt you the most.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes my mind goes like on this rabbit trail, like all through all these different things. And so when he said that, I thought, that's so true. They hurt you the most. But I wrote this down, but people use this to guard themselves from closeness.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
when you get hurt like that, it's like, I learned my lesson. I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guard myself from being close to this person or from anybody. But then I wrote, but I'm so thankful that Jesus didn't do that to us.
Absolutely.
Because
Yes.
we hurt, we mess up every
Yeah. If
if
single
anybody
day.
gets hurt constantly, it's us hurting Jesus.
Yeah, but he chose grace and forgiveness
right.
instead of a shield.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that
Yep.
that's important. Like for me, that's important for me to remember. Just because I got hurt by this person or that person along the way doesn't mean now I shut myself off from all people.
That's
Right.
right.
You know, now it's like, well, now I know the value of grace. Now I know
Yeah.
the value of forgiveness. And
Yep.
now instead of putting a shield up, I'm going to use forgiveness and grace rather than a shield.
Yeah.
with
And
my
you don't,
relationships.
like we talked about, you don't have to be a doormat. So you
Yeah.
don't have to maintain those relationships. You can love them by actually, like he said, with the two-edged sword of healing.
Yeah.
It severs that relationship for
And
you
praying
and,
for them
and gives
and-
you room to heal, but also may give them room to heal. Maybe that relationship wasn't meant for you all to continue.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, God, if you really dedicate your life to him and you ask him for those areas that you need work, he's gonna eliminate the relationships that are not gonna serve him.
That's right.
That are
Right.
not gonna serve you.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard for some people. And then they do get shut off. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard to open that door up for care. And it's just tough. It's one of those things you got to be willing to trust God. That's when your faith comes in.
Yeah.
To know that, man, this sucks. This person hurt me, but it's going to work out. And I've seen things. I mentioned on the last podcast, I'm divorced, I'm remarried, and there was a lot of hurt through my divorce, a lot of hurt. I took a lot of things said to me because, I mean, I made mistakes in my marriage too. I will be the first person to tell you I caused a lot of pain in my marriage. But at the same time, I chose through my divorce, I was like, I will not hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will not hate him. I will not talk bad about him because God is going to bring some glory regardless out of this. And since then, we have a beautiful blended family. My boys have 2 extra adults to love them.
Yeah.
We have a beautiful girl that she's kind of like, I don't even know what you call it when it's not your stepdaughter, because she's not my stepdaughter, but she's like an extra daughter because it's on their dad's side.
Yeah.
But she is amazing, and like I treat her as she's my own. And my boys have both been, saved and baptized since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Today I had the blessing of baptizing my niece. I mean, it's just like I've seen God move in such incredible ways, and it was worth those years, you know, of choosing. It was a choice
Yeah.
Yes.
to wake up every day. And I failed. There's a lot of
Yeah.
times I failed. I would lose my cool. I would probably say something I shouldn't, but that's coming back and saying, hey, I'm sorry, I crossed that line. We're not going to do this,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and move forward. And that takes a lot of time, and it is consistent, and it's hard work. And it sucks to look at yourself and say, ooh, that was ugly.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
maybe
I mean, something as you talk about maintenance and love is a choice.
Yeah.
You know, kind of going away from like friendships and stuff back to the marriage. I've been encouraging people, you know, maintenance, you think of date nights or, you know, having one-on-one time together and stuff. But, you know, I want to encourage too, like, don't be afraid of counseling.
Absolutely.
That is something that I think, you know, can help a lot of people as well. You get in a room with somebody and you can, it's just that different perspective.
And a mediator.
Yes. And,
because
you
people
know,
put such a like, oh, you go to counseling.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It's a bad stigma when it's really not. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm a true believer. You got to find that right counselor, in my opinion. I mean, should be someone that has the same beliefs as you and things, you know. But I mean, Brian and I go. I mean, I think that's a part of our maintenance. And I can remember the very first one that we went to, you know, they asked us, you know, what do you want and stuff. And we both, you know, for us, divorce was not an option, which we were not in a nowhere near that point or anything. And then we talked about love as a choice.
Yeah.
So I think that that's also a huge point from this message is it's hard, right? Like it's not going to be easy. He also talked about the 3 different types of love. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the first 2 can probably be somewhat easy for some people, but that third one is the most important, in that love that's found when you have that relationship with God.
Right. Agape love.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And so I think that's just something to remember as well of, you know, maintenance can look like different things for different people.
Yeah, and it's not cookie cutter or what you read in the, you know, those like magazines about love and relationships and all that. It's in here.
Sometimes
in the
it's
Bible
hard
is
stuff.
where you're going to see the tools that you're going to need really and truly. And what I took a big thing about, it's a choice. And I was like, what if I like looked at my husband some days, instead of saying I love you, I choose you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Like I choose you. Yeah. And like, I want to choose you.
Yeah.
And I hope he says it back.
Yeah.
But I think so. But I giggled because he talked about Melissa burning the grilled cheese.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know that my husband has taste buds because I've burnt things a few times. And he's still like, this is delicious. And I'm just like, that's weird.
Yeah.
He just eats some weird things. But if I burn it, he doesn't complain. He doesn't tell me that he wants it that way. But he doesn't complain and he eats it. So I just like during service, I was like,
so Bethany is a fantastic cook. Yeah. Like I love everything Bethany eats. My kids sometimes they're like, I don't really like this or whatever, but you never hear me complain because I'm a terrible cook, and I'm like,
he's like, I don't want to do it.
I'm terrible at that, and so if y'all don't want to eat frozen pizzas, then y'all like what Mama cooks.
Then y'all going to choose to love what Mama cooks.
That is right.
That's a small lesson for your children. Choose to love what Mama cooks.
Me.
But I think that's a big thing. Is it? And it's hard for people to hear in this society that love is a choice, you know, because we're all about love yourself. And it's all this frilly stuff with Valentine's Day, especially coming up, you know, like the love holiday. It's kind of been materialized, and it's deeper than that. It's so much deeper than that.
More than roses and chocolate on a day.
Yes.
However, show up with it.
Don't forget. We're not saying forget to take that to your spouse. We're just,
it's a part of that maintenance, right? It just don't stop there.
This is going to be out on Wednesday. You might still have a few hours to get something. But I think that the biggest thing to take away is that love covers a multitude of sins.
Absolutely.
Like in that, there's healing. You know. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him will have everlasting life. That right there is the truest testimony of what love can do. Yes. I mean, just in that, all of us have heaven on the other side of this life. And if he can give that big of a sacrifice, what can we do for the people around us?
Yeah.
You know,
Pastor Chad said towards the end, he said, there's nothing you can't love your way out of. Yeah. And I wrote a question mark because I felt like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like there's nothing you can't love your way out of.
Yeah.
And then he went on to say, Jesus loved, and it took him to the cross.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that made me think, dude, like that's so powerful. Like a lot of the times it goes back to that. Well, if I do something for you, you do something for me.
Reciprocal.
Yeah. And so he was saying, like, Jesus showed us that there may be people that you love regardless, and you never see any fruit from it in this life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you never see that relationship mended. You never see whatever, but it never changes that our job as followers of Jesus is to always choose love no matter what.
That's right.
Because I think a lot of times too, it's like Christians, it's easy to choose condemnation, or it's easy to choose I'm better than you, or you're a sinner, or whatever. But it's always, the choice is always love. You know, no matter what it is, it's love.
Yeah. I wrote down, he said, love each other like your life depended on it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
You know,
it kind of does.
Yeah. And so that was something I wrote down. I'm like, man, each time that I'm in a situation that I feel like I'm struggling, I almost need to remind myself of that too. I have a choice right now.
Yeah.
And loving each other, love like my life depended on it. I mean, in that choice right there, I mean, what are you going to do?
You know?
So I thought that was a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that this is probably hard for like other places to hear, and here at Victory Hill, we don't claim a denomination. We just, we don't. We love everyone. And when Chad talked about how it upset him that someone came to church because another church told them they'd be better suited here.
Yeah.
That hurt my heart a little bit, because it's like, as a church body, we should be loving everyone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Whether it's someone who is new to Christ, whether it's someone who has followed them their entire life and just, went wayward for a while and they're coming back, and maybe they're not doing it the way we want them to do it, but hey, they're here.
Yeah.
They're trying. That's better than not showing up. And I think that's something as Christians, for me personally, I want to be better at. I want to be better at being able to look past where someone's at and see that God has a plan for them.
That's right.
That if I can love them through this season, and it doesn't have to be pretty, love sometimes is just being honest. Love sometimes is saying the hard truths that people don't want to hear, but doing it in a way that's not condemnation.
Yeah.
That's like, hey, I really want to see you do better.
That's right.
Because I think we here at Victory Hill, like, we know community is so important.
Yeah.
We do like
community is like Katie was talking about, counseling is so important.
Yeah.
Community is so important.
That's
and
right.
so if you decide, like, I'm going to start living this out, I've got to have community around me. So we put a ton of emphasis on small groups.
That's right.
Like you were talking about your blended family.
Yeah.
Like, we've got a small group, blended family.
That's blended family. Yeah.
Because you need people that are in same life situations or in, different whatever, to be able to live this out, because it's, you can't do it by yourself. I see people all the time trying to be like, well, I'll just go to church on Sunday and then I'll be fine.
Right.
And it's like, man, it's got to be more than that.
Yeah.
You have to have community around
And the image
you.
of what people think a Christian is supposed to look like is so different. It's so different. It's like God didn't expect everybody to look exactly cookie cutter. That, there's a reason we all have different DNA and we look different, and so that's why our small groups are amazing. I loved seeing that there was a blended family group on there. Like, that made my heart happy, because I know there's a lot of divorced people out in the world who have been hurt, church hurt.
Yeah.
And for us to have a space for those people to come, and let us be clear, like, if you aren't a member of Victory Hill, you don't come, you want to check us out, you can still join a small group. You do not have to come on Sundays. And that's the beautiful thing, is that we have people that's how they've got into Victory Hill, is through small groups.
That's right.
But we have them for everything and different walks of life, and people who are empty nesters. I mean, because I don't know what that's like. Like, all of us have kids and they're like doing 10 million different things, and I can't relate to those people. Like, I could not tell them what to do with themselves. I can barely tell myself what to do. But it's there's so many. I mean, and you and Bethany are doing a great job with that ministry, and we're very appreciative of it, and we love it. So definitely get that community, because I mean, even in times of my life, I was a part of a women's group, immediately after my divorce, and that was huge for me, because I found out there were more people that had walked through things that I had walked through, and there was hope. And surrounding yourself with people that can support you through Christ is so important.
It is.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's so important. We still have a little bit of time. I did write self-check, y'all, like, for real, Katie, when you're talking about grudges. When he read John 1:2-9, whoever says he is in the light and hates his brother is still in darkness. I was like, ooh, self-check. Have to do that sometimes, because hate is such a strong word.
It is.
But I don't know that you can have hate without love.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard people be like, I hate them. And I'm like, and it was a relationship that maybe went south.
Yeah.
And I'm like, have you ever wondered that you hate them so hard because you love them
so much,
so much that it hurts, instead of you realizing that that's what it is? You choose
I think it's
to be
a
angry.
deflection.
Yeah.
It's
more,
that's right.
Yeah.
It's more of that deflection.
Yeah.
And I think if they really dove deep and stuff, it's just because they're hurt.
Yep.
And that's where, again, it comes back to it's the choice. You've
Yeah.
got to try to pray through those other, because we have that adversary, and that's what he wants us to do, is to hate.
Yep.
And I've been in that situation. I've been hurt multiple times by people, and it's been the people that I was the closest to. And I have no lies to tell. That word's come out of my mouth before, and I was a lot younger.
It was not yesterday.
But I do think about that of like, oh my gosh, like I have said those words, but I can't see myself saying that now. But as I reflect back on it, it was because I valued that relationship so much, and I loved that person so much that I was just so hurt, and I just deflected instead of really dealing with everything. It's like, I'm going to choose to look at all of their flaws and pick them apart so that it makes me feel better, and that doesn't do anything.
It really doesn't. It actually doesn't make you feel better at all.
I think too, because sometimes we see ourselves. I've been processing this for
I
6
think
months.
I know where you're going. Come on with this. Come on.
I don't know, because this is way out.
Let's find out. Come on.
You'll be like, no, that's not right. But we see ourselves all the time as, I'm a child of God.
Okay.
And we separate other people from being in that same position to God.
Yeah.
And so we say, well, I'm a child of God, so I want God to love me, but this person wronged me, so God get them. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, okay.
But instead, it's, I'm the same to God as this person is.
That's right.
And I think about that with parents that have prodigal sons or daughters that are far away. And it's like, God, I wish that you would reach out to my daughter, reach out to my son, and bring them back. I know, that there's all kinds of people like that out there, but I really wish that you would do that with my son and my daughter. And we forget that we are the same in relationship to God as they are. He cares just as much about them.
And he's always working.
Yeah, and he cares just as much about them as you do. You're the same to him. And so when we change our mindset from being me and God versus them, instead it's me and God and them together.
That's right.
Let's mend this relationship because we're all on the equal playing field.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
That's not where I thought you were going. Yes. Still really good, though. I thought you were going to say we see ourselves in them.
Yeah.
When we hate them. There's a part of us that also hates ourselves a little bit. Yeah. And I was like, true. Okay. So we were not on the same wavelength, but close, but not. Still had a great point, though.
Hey,
that was awesome.
Great points. This is great.
Great point. But I think that's part of it too. But yeah, I don't know. It is hard to not want vengeance, and I think that's something that, again, Facebook is not a diary.
No,
we see a lot of things on Facebook that are not kind.
Yeah.
Yes.
And not just Facebook, social media. I'll just say social media.
Yeah.
That it's almost like you're just waiting for someone to fail.
Yeah.
That's right. Sometimes to make yourself feel better.
Right. And as Christians, we need to be a little bit more aware of not just ourselves when we're interacting with people, but interacting in any space.
Yeah.
I think Trey covered how we talk about and carry ourselves as an example to bring people to Christ.
That's right.
And that needs to be reiterated, I think, over and over, because it doesn't matter what space we're in. Mm-hmm. Technically, we're serving God every moment of the day.
Right.
That's right.
And if we're not reflecting Him at church the same way as we are online, or at the grocery store, or the gas station, or in traffic, how is that going to bring...
Traffic don't count. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not putting
Katie has a barrier around her vehicle where the Lord does not intercede.
No.
That's right.
I'm a little guilty in traffic too. But I think that it's important for us to stay aware that is areas where maintenance and consistency and things that he talked about today should come into play. Yeah. We're all human, which he also addressed, but I think it's being intentional.
That's right.
And being willing to say, maybe I should go back and delete that post.
Yeah.
Or hey, don't comment on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Full self-control.
I'm the king of unfollowing on Facebook.
Yeah.
And it's not because whatever. It's because if I ever get this sense of saw this person post this again, I instantly will unfollow them just because I don't want to. I know it's terrible, but I don't want to make where now every time I see them, I have this bad feeling. It's like I'm cutting this off because it's me more than them. You know,
but in my head, I just see you sitting at home, being like, nope.
Unfollow. I will unfollow so quick. Bethany's like, you have nothing. Like nobody knows the end of their Facebook feed, and I know the end of my Facebook feed every day.
I'm gonna have to take his phone later and see if he's unfollowed me.
Gone. Katie's gone out of there.
Listen, I don't even have it on my phone anymore.
Me neither.
It just makes me giggle so hard. That mental image just every night. It's like, no.
Unfollow.
Nope. Oh, remind me to never request to be your friend online.
Hey, we're friends. I'm just not following.
Yeah, that's
okay.
right.
We can be friends.
That's a good one. That's right. You still love us. You just don't have to like us.
Can you just tell me to my? Can you walk? If you ever need to unfollow me, please come to my face and be like, "Hey, I'm clicking this unfollow button."
I've unfollowed you, but I love you and you're a friend.
That's right.
I need that true honesty in my life. Oh my gosh, that's got me so tickled. Oh, bless you and your social media. I think today was great. I think this whole sermon series is going to be just insane. I do love the way that, they're approaching love. I love the title. It does make me giggle.
Yes.
I am excited for Mason's week because he did say he has a picture from
Is
when
he next week.
I don't know.
Maybe,
but he's got a picture apparently where he did love handles as a youth sermon, and like it's like the love handles you're talking about. So I honestly cannot wait to see that.
It's going to get interesting.
So everybody might want to be tuning in that
Sunday.
Sunday.
I was going to say, make sure you tune in. It's getting interesting here at Victor Hill.
It is. But they put together some amazing sermons. And for me, it always feels like it's right where it needs to be, right on time. Yeah. I know they pray over the messages a lot, and they spend a lot of time. Our teaching team is very dedicated to what they're talking about here, that it is coming from the Lord.
And we're seeing that, right? We're seeing, you baptized your niece today. We had 4 baptisms today alone. And that's
7
so
youth
amazing.
On Wednesday gave their lives to Christ.
Yes.
So God's moving.
He is.
He is doing some things wrong.
Such an exciting time.
It is. Yeah. You can almost feel it. I feel like it's tangible.
Yeah.
Not just during worship, but just when you walk in, it's just like just this tangible feeling for me. Yes.
That's right.
And it's been incredible. But if you want to check us out, we want to invite you to tune in. If you're not local, you can check us out on Facebook and YouTube every Sunday. Yep. We start about 9:21 Central Time. Let me clarify, we are in Central Time. We actually have some people that join every week that are from so many different states.
That's awesome.
It is amazing to see. We have quite the community. Wednesdays, check out the Circle Back to Sunday podcast. We are enjoying doing that and sharing that with you all. And our digital connect card is always live.
Yeah.
So you can connect with Victory Hill throughout the week.
Yes.
That's right.
If you need prayer or anything
I was
like
gonna
that.
say, the prayer request, that's a huge thing in my opinion, because if you're having a rough time through the week, you can always go to that connect card and put in that prayer request, and someone on staff here is going to receive that. Yeah. And I can almost guarantee that they're going to stop and pray for that request.
Oh yeah.
So
I can attest.
Yes.
Staff meeting every week. They stop and it's like, all right, online, what are all the prayer requests and pray for it. So don't feel like, well, I just typed it in and nobody's
even if you put
it is happening.
God knows. I mean, because God knows, but the more people praying, I believe that, God hears it every single time. And we believe here at Victory Hill, you don't do life alone.
That's right.
So, and that's why I love that we're talking about loving people well, because, it's not just for the lost. It's for us as Christians. We need to love people well.
Yeah.
As Jesus commanded, literally, Jesus was like, hey guys, I'm going to need y'all to love each other.
That's right.
That's not how he said it. He probably didn't say that. He probably said it a lot more fluently than that. But anyways, we hope that, coming back and circling back to the sermon, it just helps everyone draw near to Christ. Our goal is to shine Him through all avenues. So do not hesitate to reach out to Victory Hill. If you need help finding a church in your area, we're more than happy to help you do that. But we're so blessed for everyone who joins us, and we're excited for next week. So you guys are definitely want to gonna want to tune in. We don't give away spoilers of anybody on the podcast, even though Mason tries to be all nosy and figure it out. And it's like, no, sir, you're not in charge of this. Step back. Step back.
Well, I greatly appreciate you having me on
Yes,
today.
I'm so glad.
It's been so fun.
I love it. I appreciate you all coming on. And listen, y'all got to check it out because Gabe's on the stage. They're worshiping, doing their thing. Katie, she serves in a lot of areas. She's amazing. We love her. She's kind of like part of the church's legacy.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And she loves Brian Michael who's our worship pastor. She chooses him.
That's right.
She chooses him. But
every day. Every day. I wake up. I choose you, babe.
Oh, look, a little love letter. We hope everyone has a fantastic week and tune in next time.
Yes.